You're listening to the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name's Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you quit your job, get out of paying taxes, and never have to work a job again by investing in real estate. And today, I'm very super duper pumped to help you to, number one, protect your assets, make more money, and get out of paying taxes legally. And I bring in on a fantastic expert on the show, sharing with you how you can do all of this all at the same time. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
What's up? What's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. Now, I am so pumped about sharing with you tax strategies and asset protection, which don't turn it off. Don't turn it off. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Before you turn it off, trust me in this. Now, I've been investing for 20 years. And in 2006, when I didn't have any properties, I had no clue what I was doing. I would turn off or not watch or not read books on asset protection or tax avoidance, legal tax avoidance, like getting out of taxes legally, because I thought it doesn't apply to me right now. It doesn't apply to me because I don't have properties. I'm not making any money. Trust me, that was the absolute worst idea because I've lost so much money doing it the wrong way and paid so much money in taxes when I didn't have to because I had no clue what I was doing. And I was doing it in general, meaning I didn't know what I was doing, and I was still doing things that were not good that cost me a lot of money. And in fact, when I first started my business, my real estate investing business, I have done this 3 different times, creating the asset protection, doing all the accounting and all that sort of stuff. Like I had to do it 3 times, and a third time is it the 4th time now? I can't remember. I've done it so many times. Basically, I had to change deeds on properties over and over again because the entity structure was wrong, or I put it in my name or whatever. I just did so many things wrong. Now, here's the reason why you must listen to this episode. Number one, you're going to find that I have an expert that I've already used myself. Like I literally use this company I've been working with for 4 years now. And every single one of my students that gets on a complimentary call with them, and they're amazing at poking holes in what you think is right because they've been doing it for 35, almost 40 years, asset protection, taking care of the taxes and all that sort of stuff. But here's the big reason why. Like I said, number one, you don't want to do it wrong. But the bigger thing is you're an investor now. Remember, you are an investor with a side job. Even if you have no properties, your mindset needs to be that you are an investor. That's who you are. You're not somebody that works at dead-end job. Even though it may be that 100% of your money comes from your job, that's now your part-time job. You are now a full-time investor. And trust me, when you buy your first property, you're going to quickly get your second and third and fourth property. You're going to keep growing and scaling. Now, in the first 1 or 2 years, if you do it right, you're not going to have to do it again ever for like 20, 30, 40 years. You give all the properties to your kids. But when you start buying properties and you do it right, you're going to start making so much more money that you eventually are going to realize, oh my goodness, how much money do I have to pay in taxes? I didn't know that. I have to write a check right now. What? This internal conversation you're going to have when you start making a lot of money and then you get your tax bill. You realize, oh my goodness, I have to pay $30,000 in taxes because I didn't do it right. What? Oh my goodness, I have to pay a sole proprietor tax. Like I have to pay this, and this. Like, no way. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And it's so much better to have this ahead of the game. Meaning, even if you have not bought any properties, you need to do it right the first time. Because like I said, I've literally spent maybe $20,000 doing it the wrong way. And now I have to do it right again. Well, I've done it right again because I have my expert, the company that I use to do all the asset protection, all the tax things that, tax people have to do, accountants have to do. I hire the experts and they're the ones that are experts. The reason why they're experts is they love this stuff. And I'd much rather do what I love, which is real estate investing. or Olympic lifting. If you guys watch my lives that I do a live. Actually, I'll quickly jump into 5 days a week. I go live on YouTube and Instagram and even on Facebook of my Olympic lifting 5 days a week. And I love doing that. I love golfing. I love not working for somebody else. So, because I love doing other things, I don't want to read tax law. I don't want to read about asset protection. I don't want to learn any of that stuff. I just want to pay somebody else because honestly, I make a lot of money. I make a lot of money and I pay almost no money in taxes because the tax code is written for me as a real estate investor. I pay almost no money in taxes and my all my assets are so well protected because I've hired the experts. I've got people that know what they're doing. And today, I'm blessed to bring on this expert, friend of mine now, because he's done so much for me and my community. I said, hey, can you just come on and share with my audience and share with them how they can protect their assets and protect their money as well from taxes? And he said, absolutely, I'll come on. And another amazing thing, he said, Dustin, how about because we love your community, all your students are amazing, they take action. How about we give them a complimentary call so we can help them to see everything to protect themselves and figure out where they are and get them where they need to be. And then we'll even give them $300 to $400 off of setting up an LLC, meaning a discount, giving a great service, honestly, that I paid for. I paid full price for this. And so they said, hey, how about we give your people, why didn't you give me a discount? I'm just kidding. I'm so glad that I spent all this money because honestly, I'm never going to have to do it again. I got experts that have done it right. And as you listen to this episode, you're going to say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I've listened to this episode because I got experts that are doing it for me. Now, if you go to masterpassiveincome.com/NCH, you're going to get to set up your LLC for only $997, like give you $400 off the regular price for the setup the LLC. And it's done right. We're going to go through the reasons, all the reasons why you should go with them as opposed to, and I trust me, I've done the $200 LLC creations. They're not good. Now you might have your LLC, that piece of paper from the government, from the Wyoming government, but at the same time, it's only as good as the corporate documents are written, how you take care of it, and this company takes care of it. Anyways, I'm getting way too into it, and the reason why because I'm really pumped. I'm pumped to have you listen to the show. But if you go to masterpassiveincome.com/NCH, you'll get a complimentary call, an hour-long call that honestly I would pay $1,000 at least just for that call. Get the complimentary and you get a huge discount. masterpassiveincome.com/NCH. Now, let's jump into today's episode where I bring on David Van Landingham, an expert from Nevada Corporate Headquarters, NCH, a company that I personally use and that is an amazing sponsor of Master Passive Income. All my students use them. You got to use them as well. But let's jump into the show. David Van Landingham. David, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Matt. You are the king of t-shirts. The first time I met you, I was attracted to your t-shirt that said successfully unemployed. Now you've got the no taxes. So you're
I love it.
I got to find out where you're getting all your t-shirts from. I already have a couple of the other ones.
Well, it's so fun because it's when you have good shirts that really resonate with other people that you're walking down the street, they're like, oh, their eyes kind of light up. I get high fives with a successful employer or the no
Yeah.
taxes. So it's like the Ghostbusters for you listening. It's like the Ghostbusters logo, the circle with the big red X through it or line through it, and then it says taxes. So no taxes, and that's what I love about being a real estate investor. You be a real estate investor, you pay almost no money in taxes, which the tax code is written for us as real estate investors because I was thinking, my goodness, who are the ones that make the laws or the tax code? It's the really wealthy people who become politicians and they want to protect what they have. So they make laws that protect them. So I thought, hey, let's just play that game with them and hopefully beat them at their own game. So, but David, this is great. So you've invested in real estate too. And at the same time, you know about asset protection. So how'd you get started investing in real estate?
So it's kind of crazy. My dad was in the military and in the Army. And when he got out in 1974, he decided that he wanted to start investing in real estate. His brother, who had already been investing, said, hey, man, there's a niche market out there. You got to get in. You got to get in. College campus rentals. So in 1974, my dad bought his first college campus rental. It was the best of the worst example out there of you wanted and didn't want with tenants. For about 5 minutes, it was actually going to be used as the location for Animal House for the main
No
house.
way. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Until the Regents got to like page 2 of the script, they read through it and went, "Yeah, no, we're not shooting that movie here." But um, Yeah, so everything went wrong that could have went wrong, right? He leased it out to a fraternity house as an annex, and that's your fifth year, sixth year, seventh year seniors that aren't in law school or medical school. And then they had a party when they moved in, and 8 kids on the deck collapsed and
Oh,
got critically injured. This is 1974, Dustin. LLCs didn't exist in the United States until 77. So it was very commonplace back in those days to just put it in your name, right? And that's what happened. And the insurance company, I'm not going to talk bad about insurance companies, but they sidestepped the claim because there was three adjoining units that connected to that same deck, and they said there should have been a capacity sign. So that's how they got out of the claim. And my parents had a putt-putt golf course, two coin-operated car washes, a laundromat. Dad was the serial entrepreneur, and I was the kid that always had quarters in my pockets, right? And so they lost all that. And so my sister, we were in Missouri. My sister and I, there's 2 seasons in Missouri, lawnmower season and snow shoveling season. So we shoveled snow and mowed yards and helped the family out until my parents got back on their feet because guess what? They liquidated their assets to pay off the judgments and still got their wages garnished at 25% until it was done. So that was my intro into real estate investing. I was not overly excited 24 years ago. My wife says, "Hey, why aren't we doing this? Your parents are doing it. They're successful. Your sister's successful." And it was fear, right? So not an attorney, not a CPA, very much of a disappointment to my mother, but so I started educating and studying and reading a lot and saying, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to let this happen to my family. And there was a name that kept coming up, and it was NCH. And so I was like, oh, okay, these guys know about this stuff. So I really was a client before I came on board and was working with and for them. I've been there 15 years now. It's been a great journey. I've got to meet, just the coolest people in the world like you and a lot of the other people that I get to meet at the events. IBL was great in Nashville. We had a fantastic time there. What a beautiful venue. But so that was it. So it's all things real estate. I mean, I've flipped houses, I've done wholesales, I've done the Airbnbs. We've also got into the college campus rentals with my family, and so just knowing the pitfalls that are out there, that's my passion. Keeping everybody away from bad stuff. I can't help if your tenant skips out on you or puts a hole through the wall. But what I can do is make sure that you're protected from a legal standpoint and that your structure is going to be manageable yet scalable, but financially efficient. And that's the big thing with rental properties because sometimes your cash flow is, three, four, $500, and if you've got exorbitant fees maintaining your structure, it just doesn't balance out. So we structure with that in mind based on what you're doing. So we'll talk about whether you want to talk about just residential, you want to get into commercial. There's all different ways to structure. Some are better than the others. I'll never say that's wrong. I'll just say there's a better way.
and you guys have been doing it or NCH has been doing it for almost 40 years, like 37, I think,
30,
years.
30, 35, 36 years in June. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's a long time. You guys have seen a lot. You've had lots of other investors that you work with. And for everybody listening, NCH did all my stuff, like all my setup for the trust that we have, the LLC, and like everything is I ran through NCH and they took care of everything, which was absolutely amazing. And then even created my own personal like family trust as well. We also have a real estate privacy trust, or basically a property trust for each property. Anyways, it's pretty complex, and I'm so glad I didn't have to figure this out because I would not have figured it out. In fact, honestly, David, I've tried. Well, I started back in 2006, started investing in real estate,
mhm.
and I was reading books. There was a little bit of like videos online, wasn't really big at all. So I'm trying to piece together things of like how to do it right. And I kid you not, I started a C corporation. I started a C corporation because I didn't know what I was doing. And so, anyways, I started buying properties in a C corporation. And then after a while, I just found out somebody said, "Hey, you're getting taxed twice." I'm like, "I am? What in the world? What are you talking?" And then I had to do it all over again because I did it wrong. And then I did it all over again, and I didn't do it right again meaning I didn't do it the right way that I actually have now NCH doing it, protect asset protection and also for accounting as well. And so the bummer thing is I had to do it again. Like I had to, do the deeds, change it, change the deeds and do new
Oh
grantor and
yeah.
grantee and all that stuff. I had to do it over and over again. And it costs so much money. I wish I would have just done it right the first time. That's why I'm glad that you guys are here because you guys now my stuff is done right. And now all my students now, everything is done right.
Yeah, and that's our slogan. We go out to your events and stuff, and we've got our pop-up banners. It's like, LLC is done right the first time because so many people have done that. And look, I don't blame people for wanting to, you know, get the lower value stuff, but they have to understand LLCs are not all created equal, right? Whether you get it from the Secretary of State or you get it from a boutique company or another company or more of a fintech company, when you work with us, it's white glove service. And I think you got a really great experience when you got to come out when we were acquired by LegalZoom. You got to meet with Jeff Stivel, the CEO, cool guy, and but that's why they bought us and acquired us. They couldn't figure out how we were profitable, but such concierge white glove service because we talk to our people, we walk the path. So when you're working with our team, we just don't sell you an LLC and a box of stuff and say get out of here, right? We're working with you and walking down that path with you as you grow your portfolio, or even if you diversify. I mean, you've got a lot of clients that are diversifying into other aspects of real estate, syndications, commercial. You've got a huge building, so you're breaking people out from just that single path, which I think is great because diversification in any market that gets a little topsy-turvy every now and then, you've got other segments that are still performing well. And so as people grow and diversify, we're there to support that growth because it's not just the same LLC or same this for every different type of facet of real estate.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And for you listening, David and NCH, they flew me out to come and hang out with them at their facility. And it is amazing. They have so many people that work there. And I also got the benefit of just like a normal customer would. When I got all my stuff done by NCH, I have so many emails of them coming after me saying, "Hey, we gotta make sure this gets done. Hey, you haven't done this yet." Like they're not just most companies, except like David said, you're gonna get some. Hey, let's do an LLC for a couple $100. Well, if you do that, they're just literally just getting your money, and they don't really care. Like they don't take care of you. I have so many emails that I got to reply to because they're on top of me saying, "Hey, we want to get this done for you. Like you didn't pay us money just to get it not done. Let's get this done." And at the
Right.
same time, so knowledgeable. And I just love that. But when I was walking through, I was looking at you're walking through the office and seeing all the amazing people, and people were so nice, which was great. But
Mhm.
the knowledge, that's the biggest thing is I want my assets protected. I also want to make sure I keep as much money away from Uncle Sam as possible. So talk to me about what would maybe like if somebody went through and created an LLC or had their business created by you and NCH, as opposed to like really really cheap, inexpensive places that are just a dime a dozen. What are your thoughts? Like, how does that make it? How does that stand out for the person that's getting it?
Well, so I mean, the word complete comes to mind immediately because when most people go out and get an LLC set up, whether they do Secretary of State or from some other company, majority of the time they don't even get a corporate record book binder. They don't even get a corporate record book. They get 8, 9 pages emailed to them, and that's it. The issue with that at hand is during. There you go. That's it.
Well, so
So
what I was saying for everybody, if you're not watching this on YouTube, so I grabbed my corporate book that NCH created for me, and in it has it tells you exactly everything to do. It has an amazing operating agreement that's going to, as best you can, take care of you. But anyways, everything is so well done. And on top of that, if you go and work with somebody else that's going to charge you, I don't know, a couple $100 to do an LLC, they give you a AI written operating agreement, which is not taking care of you at all. So, anyways, keep going, David.
yeah, yeah, no, that's the point. So people don't get these accoutrements, what I call them, because they're important and they don't know they're missing them sometimes. But here's what happens. In a lawsuit, the first thing that attorneys do is they're going to subpoena your corporate record book because they know that either most people don't have one or they don't know what to do with it and nothing's been filled out. There's compliance issues, things that you need to do on a regular basis, annual meetings. That's what you're talking about. They're saying, hey, time for registration coming up. We're going to send you your minutes and meetings so you can record those and put them in. There's still some formalities that we need to do. But this is kind of what a lot of companies sidestep, and they go, here's your LLC, go, right? And we're like, hey, we're going to go a step further. Here's what we have to do. Here are the requirements. And we've even got a compliance program that they do all that stuff for you. So because there are people that just go, I don't want to do this. I'm focusing on my real estate. You guys help me with this. So the most important thing is knowing that it's complete, knowing that it's done, and knowing that it's going to, test, the will of an attorney that's trying to come after you. The whole idea is for them to pierce the corporate veil, which means set aside the protection that LLC would give you and hold you personally responsible. They do that through alter ego ruling, under capitalization at inception, lack of corporate formalities, personally guaranteeing debt for the company, on and on and on. The only way to pierce the corporate veil of a Wyoming LLC is if you commit fraud or what's called manifest injustice, which is really not more about you. It's just an unjust ruling in the courts. So here's the simplest thing. Don't commit fraud. Don't commit fraud. If you don't commit fraud,
That should be a blanket
you're gonna be
statement. You
okay.
should never do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, my gosh, it's, just do the right thing, but that's where, a lot of people go out there and they get the LLC, which is good, right? They had good intentions, but perhaps bad execution because they didn't follow through and do the things they needed. Lawsuit comes along and pop, they pierce the corporate veil. Now you're personally on the hook for anything and everything legally or financially for that company. And if you get a really aggressive attorney coming after you, I mean, they can hit you pretty hard.
Well,
It's
on top of that,
like you said.
so for you listening, I know you guys know that I always talk about building a business when we're investing in real estate. We don't just buy a property and just hope everything works out. We build a business first, and then we buy the properties knowing that we have experts doing all the work for us. But if you remember, the number one thing I say is build a business. So when you have an LLC that is going to be protecting your business, just like if you have any other business, let's say like your dad had a coin laundromat, or whatever business you have to have the right entities set up, because I believe you do not want to be a sole proprietor because you pay so much more money. It's just so ridiculous how much money you pay. Instead, have an LLC. So if you have any business whatsoever, if you're doing any work outside of working for somebody else, a dead end job is like I call it, because you're living just over broke, you need an LLC because it's going to help you save so much money in taxes. And the fraction of money that you're going to be spending to create a solid LLC, you're going to be saving so much more money in the future because you did it right.
Yep. And here's the crazy thing. You're talking about the tax code earlier, and I say, know the code. That's really what it is. People think that the tax code is actually written for the wealthy. In some areas it could be, but most areas it's not. Think about it. You make too much money, you can no longer contribute to a Roth, right? Make too much money, things like the 199A, or what's called the qualified income deduction, comes off. That doesn't happen either. There's certain financial phase out for depreciation. So, it's not totally written for the wealthy, but what the wealthy have the advantage of is having really smart people read through it and understand it and go, here's how we get away with this. Here's how
Well,
we can
you,
do
you
this.
said you just said know the law. I don't want to know the law. I want to hire amazing people that know the law because I got so many other things to do.
Yeah, I'm that sick person that wants to read the code to understand it, and that's me. And you've met Adam before. Adam's the same way. We're those guys that want to read it and see it to understand it, and it's constantly changing. I mean, last year, up in November, December, we were ready for 2026, and then the one big beautiful bill act came out, and it's like, oh man, here's another 3 weeks of studying to figure this stuff out. But the code is written in so many ways it's favorable. So just like you're talking about, getting set up with an LLC, your legal fees, CPA stuff, there's a $5,000 organizational fee deduction that you would get for this type of business. When I say this type, I'm talking about investing. So when you're, a brick and mortar flower shop, that's an active business, you get a $5,000 business startup deduction. As investors in rental property, we don't get a business startup deduction. We're not viewed it really as a business. We're not paying self-employment tax, right? We're not W-2. We're getting the K-1s, and we're buying right because we know Dustin, and we're taking advantage of that depreciation, offsetting cash flow, right? So just like what you said, you do real estate right, you're not paying taxes, right? And people, oh, you're a crook. No, I'm just smart, or no smart
No,
people.
I legally get out of paying taxes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, all of these things are what we look at it. And, clients, we've advised them, basically to the level of their involvement, they may qualify as a real estate professional, right? They may be doing, Airbnbs where we can get the 100-hour rule, right? So there's all these little things that are there that we can really help out with.
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So, two things I would ask from you. Number one, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin and Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number one. Number two, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual, normal, everyday people own real estate, the better everybody's life gets.
We don't do cost segregation. Our CPAs are very familiar with it. But in certain instances, cost segregation is warranted. I've got clients that are, I'm in Florida, they're out here buying Airbnbs, and you got to put a pool in, you got to put a cage over the pool to keep the alligators out, right? And, you would like to not have to depreciate that over time. Let's get it now, right? Let's get it now before somebody else comes along and changes the IRS rules. So,
For
these are
you
all things.
listening, like, for what he's talking about being the real estate professional tax status, that is the best tax status you could ever get from the IRS. And basically, I'll boil everything down: your active income, any work that you do outside, like a business or any active income, it's offset or written off. The passive income losses can be written off. So if you are not a real estate professional, and let's say you have a job, you're making $200,000 a year. I mean, you're making a lot of money. You're going to pay a lot of money in taxes. And if you have that job and you also invest in real estate, any losses or a depreciation on a property that you have, unless it's Airbnb, which we can get down, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we should need to go down to. But just in general, you cannot write off your passive income losses with or from your active income. Me as a real estate professional, it's all blended together. It's literally the same thing. So I bought a $35 million apartment complex. So you better bet we did a cost segregation study and depreciated that. So I look like I make no money because it all blends together.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose. And again, utilizing the tax code for what's there, right? So between asset protection, and this is what I always say when I go out on the road and I speak at events, there's 5 ways to lose money in real estate investing. Lack of education is one. We've got Dustin Heiner for that, so we got that covered. Lack of capital, right? We create business plans. We have a business credit programs. We help people self-direct retirement accounts, right? Source funding. So that's the third one. And then there's lawsuits is another one, unfair or unwavered taxes. And then the last one is failure to launch, failure to take action, right? So, and the thing I like about, working with your community is they're action oriented. They're ready to go. They're just like, point me in the direction and let's get this done. And those are the people that are going to be successful, because in real estate, as you know, good deals don't stay around long. So you've got to act fast. It's the same thing when you're getting your business set up and everything. You want it all up and running, because when you find that perfect opportunity, you really want to be able to put that property into a trust connected to an LLC in a matter of days.
Yeah, and there's a saying that I heard a little bit ago. It's money favors speed. And if you don't move fast, if you're not ready, and if you're thinking, oh, I'll invest, someday, or when I'm ready, or when I have enough money. In fact, I've had so many students come to me and say, hey, Dustin, I really want to invest in real estate, but at the same time, I want to save money, or I want to do this, I want to do that, and they start hemming and hawing or start sharing all these other things outside factors for them. I said, I completely get it. I had those exact same factors as well, but if I did not start investing, if I didn't actually move when I did, I wouldn't
Mhm.
be here today. And so that's why I love the saying that money favors speed. Like if you move fast, in fact, if you have a really good deal, if you don't move on it, somebody else is going to take it up. That's just really
Oh
what it
yeah.
comes down to. Now, David, so there's still more to the show, but I want to share, David. So, David shared with me for you listening. He said, "Hey, I want to help everybody to have a call with you or one of the account. What are the
Corporate analyst.
yeah, your corporate analysts. So you have your
Mhm.
corporate analysts that are willing to jump on a call for free. I was like, wait, you're gonna jump on a call? Like if you have a lawyer and you want to jump on a call, it's gonna cost you like a couple $100 an hour. Accountant, same thing. So you're gonna do it for free, which was amazing. But then so you are corporate analyst. Well, I'll have a link in the description, but it's masterpassiveincome.com/NCH. Just NCH. That's all it is. Okay. But anyways, I'll put the link in the description and you'll get a complimentary call with them and the LOC. It's only going to be $997. And I think normally like 1,500 bucks. So, or around there. So 997 to get one started. I paid full price for mine. So trust me, this is absolutely worth it. But if you go to masterpassiveincome.com/NCH and you will get that. It's only good for a month. It's only good for just 30 more days. So when you hear this,
Well,
it's coming
end of May, end of May,
end of May. End of May. Oh,
end of
we
May.
got to make sure we move on it. You got to
Yep.
move fast. You got to
You
move
just said
fast.
take action.
And what the great thing too, and David. So for everybody listening, David and Adam. David's been on the show, or this is the first time on the show. Adam's been on the show a couple times.
Mhm.
I learned so much from this complimentary call. I've been on a couple of the different calls. I just learned so much, and I'm blown away at the knowledge. Here's the great thing. So we had Adam come out. He works at NCH. He's another corporate analyst. So he came to our inner circle mastermind that we put on here at
Mhm.
Master Passive Income in January. And he was like, hey, I just like David, he said it just like you. Like, I'm weird. I like reading the code. I like learning about this sort of stuff. And this is something I learned about Tennessee. This summer I learned about this. And like, I'm so glad you shared that. I had no clue. That's so it's great having amazing company like NCH. Honestly, I have not found a better company. I would say that's why I bring you guys on. That's why you guys have been at almost every single one of my events, and you're platinum sponsors, which means everything that I do, I'm like, because you guys are amazing, I want all of my students to use you guys.
Yeah, yeah, and we feel that, and we get it all the time. People call up and go, "Oh, man, Dustin just rants and raves about," I'm like, good. We want that because, it's important to us, number one, because we know that they're being guided by you in the right direction, right? So we're now taking that and we're taking it seriously. Hey, this is your future. This is your generational wealth. This is your kids' future, right? So it's a big responsibility for us to make sure everything is set up right. You're not paying $1 more than you should in taxes, and legally we want to keep prying eyes off of this and keep it for kids and organizations that you want to leave it to.
Oh,
So
so you brought up pry and eyes, what got me thinking. Another thing that Adam shared, and I want you to walk us through this. Now, asset protection is another thing. Obviously, we want to keep money from Uncle Sam. That's another thing that NCH is really good at helping us out. And that's the complimentary call was just amazing. So definitely go masterpassiveincome.com/NCH. Link will be in the description again. But I was thinking that the best way is to have a property that is owned by the LLC. But when I was talking to Adam, he said, hey, that's a good way, but here's a better way that we've seen, which is each property. And I'm going to explain it, and you can hopefully clarify it, make it sound better. Because what I have Adam and NCH did for me, for everybody listening, they created a real estate privacy trust. Not necessarily like a technical name in a sense, like it's like, hey, go to a judge and say, hey, I have a real estate. He's like, I don't know, it's just a trust. But with this trust, every property has its own trust in its own trust. So you have 10 properties, you have 10 different trusts. And then you have an LLC that's the managing company over all those. That's the beneficiary, I believe. Anyways, help me understand, wrap my
yeah,
mind
no,
around that. And for everybody listening, you need to learn about this.
you're a student of this. You're getting it. So yeah, so the LLC is the lifetime beneficial interest holder. So we'll take a Wyoming LLC, we'll foreign file it to whatever state that your properties are in. So let's say you're in Florida, right? So we're going to foreign file to Florida. Florida charges $125. Come on in, Wyoming LLC, and now you're doing business in Florida, right? So we take each individual residential property, 1 to 4 doors, right, goes into a real estate privacy trust. So one deed per real estate privacy trust. We assign the lifetime beneficial interest to the LLC. That creates the asset protection. So now if something happens, they're going after the Wyoming LLC. And then the death time beneficial interest goes to that revocable living trust. That's the generational wealth builder, right? So now upon death, everything avoids probate, everything is settled privately, and that step up in basis takes place where we're passing on wealth to our kids. You buy a property for 200,000, the day you die, it's worth 800,000. Now, as that passes to your kids after you pass away, they can sell that property for 800,000 and pay absolutely zero in taxes, both federal and state, right? That's the generational wealth builder. Now, if they want to keep the property and maybe get into the rental game for a couple of years, and now they're going to sell it for $200 or $200,000 above that cost basis, then yeah, they'll pay the tax on that gain of whatever that value was at death to what it was when they sold. But there's so many different ways to structure, and we see people, all the time. They've got 10 properties, they've got 10 LLCs, 10 checking accounts, 10 renewal fees, 10 record books to keep up. It's just not fun, right? Who can have fun doing all that, right? Now you've got one LLC, right? You can have 5, 10 properties there if you want. You've got one renewal fee plus, Florida 138.95 a year as their end of it. And that's it. None of the trusts have any ongoing state fees or annual fees or anything else. So it's extremely financially efficient.
One thing that also stood out to me was I know the reason why most people get sued is because a lawyer sees value that they can go after. A
Mhm.
lawyer, especially in, so they say low income areas or, C and D areas, if you're investing there, they don't have much money to just go hire a lawyer. But
Right.
lawyers are there if there's equity. And so, what I love about the real estate privacy trust, where every property has its own trust, that
Mhm.
every property is completely separate. It's hard. Now, AI is going to probably figure out how to get around this and figure out like who owns what and all that sort of stuff. But the great thing about the real estate privacy trust, every property has its own trust, is that it's so separated. Like if it's Dustin Heiner LLC, they're going to find every property that's owned by Dustin Heiner LLC, and they'll say, "Hey, this guy Dustin, he's got 8 properties. He's got 100 properties. He's got 1,000 properties. They're gonna see how much value that could potentially be there. And like,
Sure.
oh, this might be worthwhile for me to take up this case. But if they only see one property and they can't tie anything else, they're like, why in the world would I go after this property? There's no money in it for me.
Yeah, and that's that, how many attorneys do you know that are going to work for free? I've got attorneys in my family, they're not working for
They're
free.
not
So
working for. I had a really
not
good
at
friend
all.
that I have to pay, which I get it. Like if I want to pay them because they're good, but at the same time, it's like it's not free.
Yeah, no, it's not. But here's the thing. In all reality, you don't want to be the low-hanging fruit, right? If somebody's thinking about, breaking into your house, if they see bars and Rottweilers and all kinds of stuff surrounding that property, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that one.
There are
So
easier things to
yeah,
go after. Like this
yeah,
one's
it's
gonna be
easier things
tough.
to
Let me
go
not
after.
go after it.
Yeah, so the way that we structure it, it makes it very convoluted for them to do it. Now let me expose the privacy that's out there. Everybody talks about privacy, privacy, privacy. There is no such thing as privacy. There is surface level privacy where we can not put your name on the LLC, where we don't name the individual real estate privacy trust after you or your beautiful kids, right? We're going to use the name of the street that the property's on, Elm Street Trust, Main Street Trust, what have you, right? So we're creating this privacy. But the moment we're getting sued and they bring us in for a deposition, they're going to say, Dustin, do you own any LLCs? Do you have any ownership interest in any LLCs? Do you have any ownership interest in real estate? We have to say yes, because if not, we're committing fraud, which is how they pierce the veil. So privacy is surface level. It's cool. It's nice to have. I mean, even revocable trust, we don't name them after ourselves. I don't have the Van Landingham family trust. I have the Bruno family trust. Bruno was my first English bulldog that I ever had. He's memorialized in my trust, and it sounds mafia. Nobody's going to mess with the Bruno family, right? So these are the things that we do, just obscurity. We create that level of smoke there. But if, and for the people that have never been in a lawsuit and they're like, oh, you can do this, this, and this privacy, it tells me they've never been sued before because that's what they do. They're going to bring you in and say, hey, gigs up, what do you own? Right. So, and as real estate investors, if we're doing it right, like Dustin teaches it, we're leveraging everything that we have constantly to buy more and to buy more. So they're going to look at a property that's leveraged and there's very little equity in there anyways. Plus, Wyoming and Nevada have great laws that's called charging order protection, which means they can't force you to liquidate equity to pay off a judgment, right? They can get a lien against the property, but that means an attorney's working for free. And again, they don't like to do that. So we know the tricks.
I love it. I love it. And what I also realized was as I was going through and getting the revocable living trust, which is like the foundation. This is, I know Ray. So Ray's the CEO, really amazing guy. He was saying, okay, your revocable living trust, that's your family trust. That's like and I think it was Adam that used the word dynasty. Like think of it like a dynasty trust. Like this is going to be generational. I'm like, that's a great idea. Anyways, that's the foundation of everything. And then you have your LLC, that's the management that manages everything. And then you have every property having a trust, which is like, it's awesome. You're muddying the waters, which is what's really, really awesome because when a lawyer looks at it, they're saying, man, is there any meat on the bone for me to go after? Like you said, they don't want to work for free. But at the same time, to double down on that, it's if honestly, my suggestion is if you have loans on your property, they can't go after the entire property. Let's say you have $1 million property and you have $900,000 loaned from a bank to pay for it. There's only $100,000 equity there. That's the same thing as a $100,000 house that's owned free and clear because they can't go after the 100 million or actual whole million. They can't do that. They can only have to go after equity. And so I suggest another tip for you listening is if you have a property, just get a home equity line of credit. Let's get a home equity line of credit on there just so you have that. And one other quick tip, not just getting sued. I know, meaning that's a way to lose your equity. I've heard other people losing their home because they're, especially when they get older people tend to have houses paid off and they're not so astute on all this stuff. But anyways, they get their houses taken from them because there's no lien against the property. And some con man comes in and talks them all this sort of stuff. And anyways, long story short, I like having liens or loans against loan is more better way to say it. Loans against my property because that's another person, a company fighting for, or they have access to the property.
Well, yeah, it puts them in like second or third position, depending upon you've got a first mortgage, then you get a HELOC in your second mortgage, and then there may be other things out there. The only thing that can then supersede the first mortgage is a lien, right? A tax lien. So if there's a tax lien, it can supersede the first mortgage. That's the only thing that can do that. So if you've got a first mortgage in place and then maybe you got a second because you put a pool in, now you want to do a HELOC. Now you're putting anybody come along in fourth position. Nobody's going to wait for that. Think about it when you were a little kid at the dance. You want to be first to dance with the girl or the fourth, right?
You'll never get anything if you're the fourth. I love it. Okay, so David, you've been doing this for many years. Anything else that comes to mind or rings a bell that we should know about all this asset protection, anything from taxes or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean it's ever changing, like I said, whether it's the individual state laws or the tax code, it's always changing. So, hire a professional, let them do those things. We've been doing this, for 35 years. I mean, Carlton Sheets, No Money Down was like the godfather of real estate seminars, hawking workbooks and cassette tapes. That's how long ago it was. Half your listeners are going, what? What's a cassette tape? So, we've been doing this for a very long time and it's second nature to us. So have that free consultation. Let us look at what you have in place. It may be adequate. It may not be. We're going to be honest with you. If it's great, we're going to tell you, hey, this is great, man. If it's not, we're going to say, here's some ways to improve it. Here's some solutions here. That's the first thing. Be open-minded and understanding to let somebody else take the wheel for a second and say, this is what you need to be doing. It's no different than saying, hey, Dustin, obviously you're successful at this, teach me. So we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to guide you down that path and we're going to position you. And the beautiful thing is about working with your students again, is because as you continue to grow and open up different doors for them, we're there to support that. There's not one curveball somebody can throw at us and go, hey, we're doing this now. And we're like, what? We understand this, everything from arbitrage to anything and everything real estate. So, we're in a position to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. You're protected. your family's protected, and most of all, you can sleep at night enjoying that, hey, we've built a fortress, a dynasty, if you will, and nobody's going to take it.
I love it. And I'm so glad that I had you guys take care of all of my stuff. And for you listening, you got to realize this. When you become a real estate investor, you might not see it now. Maybe you have one property or even no properties, maybe three or five properties, and you're making some money. But trust me, in 5 years from now, you're going to be making more money. In 10 years from now, you're going to be making a lot more money. In 20 years from now, you're going to be making so much money that you're like, I'm so glad that I got everything set up right the first time. And then every property, subsequent property, I did it right because I had the right people doing it. Just like
Mhm.
I love paying my accountant. I don't want to learn any of the accounting. I don't even want to look at numbers. I'm terrible at numbers. What would take me an entire year to do, it would take my accountant 5 minutes, like literally. And so it's like, why don't I just get the experts to do it? And that's something I talk about all the time is when we're building a business,
Yep.
we get our experts to do all the work for us because my time's valuable and they love doing it. So why don't I let somebody who loves doing it and let them do it for me? But David, this has been so awesome. And for you listening, you absolutely need, just jump on the call. I mean, it's complimentary. And honestly, like I think it should be like at least $1,000 because I learned so much just by jumping on these calls. And just like Adam did for me a couple times, picked holes in everything that I had. I thought I had everything done right. He's like, no, X, Y, and Z, this is this, and this is why, and this is the case law. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm so, so glad I talked to you. But David, thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for giving such an amazing offer to everybody listening.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Again, we love working with your community. We know your heart's in the right place, and you're guiding them down that path, and it's just fun for us to be on the journey with them. I've loved watching people become successful at things and being able to get back their time and spend more time with family and enjoying life, and that's what it's really all about.
It is. It is. Time is the most expensive thing that we'll ever spend. So you're 100% right. David, thank you so much for being on the show, buddy.
You got it, Dustin. Anytime.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777. RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.